I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, welcome to the South River Board of Education regular meeting of Monday, December 16th, 2024. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Laws of 1975 of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the South River Board of Education was provided in the following manner. On January 17, 2024, the notice was delivered to the office of the South River Borough Clerk and posted at the Board of Education Administration Building. On January 17, 2024, the notice was faxed, mailed to the following newspapers: Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger. And on January 17, 2024, the notice was posted at the South River Borough Clerk's office. Mr. Rosa, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bazak.
Mr. Bazak has been excused.
Mr. Butson.
Here.
Mrs. Bush.
Here.
Mrs. Byrne.
Here.
Mrs. Lau.
Here.
Mr. Nielsen.
Here.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Here.
Mrs. Young Yao.
Here.
Mrs. Urbanik.
Here.
Calvin Samiti.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we will be covering the items on our agenda, the first being the minutes. Mr. Rosa.
So we have the pre-meeting minutes from November 21st and the regular meeting minutes from November 25th.
Board members, what is your pleasure on these meeting minutes?
Move the reading of the minutes.
We have a motion by Vice President Nielsen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Sadowski. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing they're all in order, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, we have a few uses of facilities.
We have number 664, number 669, number 662, and number 673.
Board members, what is your pleasure on these use of facilities?
Madam, did he say 662 or 672?
672 and 673.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I heard
I
662.
did? Oh, apologize.
Oh, I heard 672, okay. All right, so was the motion made by,
No, move the use of facilities in accordance with board policies.
motion by Vice President Nielsen, second by Ms. Byrne. Any questions on these use of facilities? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Our next item on the agenda are our financial reports. Ms. Lowe.
Thank you very much. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby certifies that it is in receipt of the financial report, which indicates that no major account has been overexpended and that sufficient funds are available to meet the district's financial obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year. The Finance Committee recommends that the reports of the Board Secretary and the Treasurer of School Monies for October 2024 be approved, and I so move.
We have a motion by Ms. Lowe,
Second.
second by Vice President Nielsen. Are there any questions on the financial report? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. At this time, the meeting is going to be turned over to our superintendent for her report. Dr. Zurcher.
Yes, thank you. Before I move forward with my monthly report, we do have one confirmed HIB for the board to review. And then I will also turn it over to Mr. Crouch, who is here with us today to present our student safety data system information from report period 2, which is January 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. Mr. Crouch?
Thank you very much, Dr. Zurcher. Good evening, board. As Dr. Zurcher just said, we're going to be doing report period 2 for the school safety data systems report.
Can you hear him?
No.
Matt, do you want to maybe grab that handheld mic?
You can't hear me?
Oh,
Oh,
there
I'm
you
sorry,
go.
I'm speaking too quietly. I apologize. I mumble, I guess.
Thank you, Matt.
So what we're going to be looking at here is going to be the data based on January last year, school year, all the way through June and graduation for the HIB reporting. As you've seen in the past before with me, the first section is going to discuss show the number of trainings and programs that we had. Following that, we'll go through the primary, elementary, middle, and high school data. In reporting period 2, across the district, we had 3 HIB trainings and we had 9 HIB programs. I apologize, you can't see it that well on the board right there. In the primary school, we had 0 incidents reported during report period 2. We had no removals. We had no alleged HIBs. We had 2 HIB trainings, and we had 4 programs designed to inform people about HIB and processes. The elementary school saw 14, and other instances of removal was 24. There were 14 alleged HIBs during that time period. There were no HIB trainings, but there were 2 programs that were held for anti-HIB. In the middle school, we had 3 incidences and 5 leading to leading to removal. We had no alleged. We had 1 HIB training and we had 1 HIB program. In the high school, we had 7 incidences, 12 leading to removal, 1 alleged, no trainings, and 2 programs. So where are we at right now as far as what we're doing? At this time, we're offering monthly SEL supports throughout the entire district in every single one of the buildings, which are programs that are individually designed and tailored to the needs of the students. We have the SEL K-12 building initiatives, which is different programs that we have going on throughout the year, besides the supports that we have inside of the classroom. We just had a very successful presentation or assembly that was called Go Green, Bully Free USA. I think some of you might have seen it online. It was a smashing hit. We have Effective School Solutions and RUBHC that are supporting our students with higher needs. And then we also have Care Solace. We're running a restorative community service program. We have our therapy dog program, and we also have brought in the use of a company called Hipster that's helping us with managing all of our data about HIBs moving forward. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. Anybody? All right. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to see you, and I wish you all a happy holiday season.
Thank
too,
you,
sir.
you too. All right, thank you, Mr. Crouch, for that information. Again, that is period 2, which is from last school year, not this school year, so just keep that in mind. As far as my report goes today, we have a few things to report on, even though we just had our board meeting about 3 weeks ago. But still, we have a lot of reasons to celebrate. I'd like to begin with that. We did have an opportunity to celebrate our National Honor Society students who were inducted this year. 16 students were inducted. We also had the Wall of Fame induction as well, where we had the pleasure of inducting Mr. Anthony Rosano and Ed Chicky, thank you for correcting me. And we were really happy to celebrate this time with, of course, the inductees, but then also their families who were there, who were able to speak on behalf of the Wall of Fame recipients, and the teachers who spoke on behalf of the students who were inducted. So it was a wonderful night. We once again participated in Day of Dialogue. This is an event that I have the pleasure of coordinating for Middlesex County. And we were able to hold the event in the past. We've held it for a few years here on our South River campus, and we've invited other schools from Middlesex County. We have become quite bigger, and with some of the construction on site, this year we actually held it in Piscataway at the ESCNJ Conference Center. But still a huge success for both our high school and middle school teams who have come back invigorated and ready to implement some initiatives in their schools. And they were there at the event with hundreds of peers from across the county. So it was a great opportunity for our kids to have some conversations in a safe space with peers both from their school, but also from others. And then I just want to continue informing the community about the events that are taking place in our schools. It seems like every month we are filled with different events. We are continuing our school-wide read-alouds at the ELC and primary schools. We have really just a lot of events to bring and engage our parents and bring them into our schools. The next one we have coming up is an opportunity to celebrate heritage and kindness at the elementary school. And now a new initiative at the high school is to use the power of music to engage our students as well. And we are playing overhead music for students, encouraging them to take their AirPods, their earphones out and listen to music together. And I know this week they were focusing on holiday music that is from different parts of the world, which is exciting. So lots of activities going on, our grade level meetings at the middle school to bring in all of the different grade levels together as well with some guest speakers. We've had members from SRPD join those meetings and so on. And then also you'll notice this month is a time of giving for our students. We once again have our Adopt a Family program, which my dear friend Deb and our former admin secretary was just so committed to. And it's great to see that work, her hard work is continuing through what our students are doing and their staff advisors as well. And just happy holidays, be safe, be good as we enter into this holiday break. And we will see everyone in the new year. And so conclude my report. Oh, wait, nope, I have one more thing. I'm sorry, that I wanted to add. We do have something exciting in the district that I did want to share, and that is related to one of our freshman students, Miss Arianis Rosa. You might recognize that last name. She is Mr. Rosa's daughter. She's a freshman at our high school. And she just published a novel. She just published a fantasy fiction novel and had a signing this past weekend with a ton of attendance at the Perth Amboy Library. And it's just wonderful to see students just really thrive and it's inspirational. We now even have a course at the high school that is writing for publishing, and it's the perfect avenue for somebody like Arianis who's interested in that kind of work and who is so motivated. So congratulations.
Congratulations to you.
Congratulations to her.
Thank you.
And I think that was all.
I think there's something under here.
You kicked the
Is
bucket?
it? I may have. Okay.
I'm sorry. With Christmas vacation, the squirrel came to my mind.
I think it was me, I'm not sure. All right, and so concludes my report. Thank you.
Board members, any questions or comments on the superintendent's
I have
report?
something to say.
Sure.
I have to agree with Dr. Zurcher, the National Honor Society induction ceremony. To see the smile on the parents' faces as their child's name is called definitely adds to it. You know, the kids are excited about it, the past kids that have already been inducted, to see their friends come up and the teachers. But to see the parents, the excitement in their eyes, knowing that their child is up there was really great. And keeping with Tony Rosano, his grandson who initiated it, did open the ceremony with a dad joke. So you know, Tony would have been happy with that.
He
And that's
did.
all I have, Madam President.
That's great.
For sure.
Thank you. We're going to approve that under the consent resolution. At this time, we are going to open up the meeting for the reception of visitors, and the public may address agenda items only. There will be a public portion later on in this meeting for items that are of other concern to the board for the public to address us. If you would like to address any agenda items, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and please keep your comments to a 10-minute time limit. And I offer that on first call, and on second call, and on third call. This time, the public portion will be closed. We're going to move on to our committee reports. The first is our Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Nielsen.
Nothing to report tonight, but you saw Mr. Balage's detailed report in the monthly report.
Thank you. Athletics extracurricula, Mr. Budzen.
There's nothing on the agenda for this month.
Okay, thank you. Finance Committee, Ms. Lell.
Thank you so much. The agenda includes approvals for grant applications, extensions, and acceptance of funding supporting various school programs. Contracts for services include yearbook production, school assembly, supplemental staffing, security, transportation, field trips, and additional approvals address facility upgrades, including we have some window installations, snowplow maintenance, and budget adjustments. The Finance Committee, after review of all items on this month's agenda and upon recommendation of the superintendent, recommends approval of the items 8.1 through 8.16 with additional items 8.17 through 8.19 on the agenda as listed, including routine items. That is all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Instruction Committee, Ms. Bush.
Sure. Just a quick update. In December, the high school scheduling committee met. They reviewed course offerings, prereqs, enrollment, trends, revised some course schedules. We are in the process of planning an event or events for grade 8 through 11 to learn about the high school electives and then make choices for next year. In December, also refining PD, focusing on social and emotional wellness and multilingual learners. Teacher leaders are analyzing data from our state assessments, and we're planning grade 5 trip to Camp Mason. So that's the update of what's going on. And then the instruction committee, after a review of all items on this month's agenda and upon the recommendation of the superintendent, recommends approval of items 9.1 through 9.5 with the additional item 9.6 on the agenda as listed, including routine items. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Our next committee is negotiation. We do not have anything on the agenda for this committee. So we're going to go to our Policy and Legislation Committee. Ms. Byrne.
Thank you. We just have one item. The Policy and Legislation Committee, after review of all items on this month's agenda and upon recommendation of the superintendent, recommends approval of the item 11.1 with no additional items on the agenda as listed, including routine items.
Thank you. Human Resources, Vice President Nielsen.
Thank you, Madam President. The Human Resources Committee, after review of all items on this month's agenda and upon recommendation of the superintendent, recommends approval of the items 12.1 through 12.13 with no additional items on the agenda as listed, including routine items.
Thank
That's all I
you.
have.
Safety and Risk Management Committee, Ms. Sadowski.
Thank you. Safety and Risk Management Committee, after review of all items on this month's agenda and upon recommendation of the superintendent, recommends approval of the item 13.1 with additional item 13.2 on the agenda as listed, including routine items. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, if there are no questions on any of those committee reports, we're going to go back to the consent resolution. Ready?
Yeah.
Mr. Rosa.
So the South River Board of Education, by means of a consent resolution, adopt various resolutions of a routine and non-controversial nature at one time. And whereas the below listed resolutions are hereby adopted by the said Board of Education in whole, as if the same were individually acted upon, and those are under Superintendent of Schools 3.1 through 3.3, under Finance 8.1 through 8.19, under Instruction 9.1 through 9.5, the Policy and Legislation 11.1, under Human Resources 12.1 through 12.13, under Safety and Risk Management 13.1 through 13.2.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion for that?
Nielsen.
We have a motion by Vice President Nielsen.
Second.
Second by Ms. Sadowski. Would you please call the roll, Mr. Rosa?
Mr. Budson.
Yes.
Mrs. Bush.
Yes.
Mrs. Byrne.
Yes.
Mrs. Lau.
Yes.
Mr. Nielsen.
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Young Yao.
Yes.
Mrs. Urbanik.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to go over to our School Community Relations Committee. Ms. Young-Yo.
Right, thank you. There are no items on the agenda for this evening.
Okay. Our School Board Borough Council Liaison Committee Representative, Vice President Nielsen.
Nothing to report tonight, Madam President.
Thank you. And our PTA Liaison, Mrs. Sadowski.
Thank you. So the primary ELC PTAs are wrapping up some fundraisers this week. Spirit wear orders will need to be placed by today. They're nothing but bundt cake orders will be available for pickup this Thursday, December 19th. Elementary school, they had a PTA sponsor the holiday shop with Disney Road shop for presents and gifts for their family members. They are also hosting a candy bar bingo on January 10th, and yearbooks are already on sale because it's almost January. So it's almost that time of year. So yearbooks are on sale for both primary, ELC, and elementary, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. What was the date of the candy bar bingo?
The 10th, January 10th.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Our South River Public Library Liaison, Mr. Budzen.
I invite everybody to go to the library and see it decorated for Christmas. On the 19th, Santa will be visiting the library. On December 20th, there'll be a sing-along at 11 a.m. with Miss Kim. And in January 21st, there's the adult craft tote bag decorating. That's all I have.
Thank you. And our Student Board Representative, Ms. Kelvin Samid.
Week 1 of Spirit Week was a success, and one of the days was dedicated to Gilly, the janitor, to show appreciation for his hard work. That's all I have.
Thank you very
I
much.
saw pictures of that online, of Support Gilly Day. I don't know what to call it, but he had no idea it was coming, and he loved it. From what my boys were telling me, he was like, they're supposed to be me, they're supposed to be me. He was all excited in the hallway. He couldn't believe how many students and teachers dressed up as him and helped him out through the day. He greatly appreciated it. So
That's great to
it's
hear.
good that, you know, we take care of everybody in the district from the top to the bottom.
Thank you. Okay, is there any old or new business to come before the board at this time? And do we have an attorney's report?
Just for executive session.
Thank you. Payment of bills, Ms. Lell.
Thank you. The Finance Committee recommends that all bills presented, having been certified by the School Business Administrator Board Secretary, be paid as listed, and I so move.
We have a motion by Ms. Lell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Nielsen. Any questions on the bill list? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The bills will be paid. Okay, at this time, we are now going to open up the meeting to the public. And this is so the public may address any concern or comment that they have for the board. If you come to the microphone, please state your name and address, and please keep your comments limited to a 10-minute time limit. Anyone from the public on first call?
This is going to be my last talk on this subject. I finally will finish it. I will continue my talk by picking up where I left off last time, by telling you again that no one has ever been shot in our schools and no one is going to be. But there is always that nagging, irrational fear that some parents have that it could happen and that something must be done to stop it. As a parent, I assure you there is nothing you can do to alleviate that fear. Parents are always worried for their children. My children are 38 and 42 years old, but I still worry about them. Some of you probably still worry about your kids, regardless of how old they are. But as members of the school board, you are entrusted with making rational decisions, not decisions based on some nagging fear. Before making any decisions on school safety, you need to look beyond the "it can happen" and look at the probability of it happening, the consequences of it happening, the cost of preventing it, and the effectiveness of your preventive measures before deciding what to do. In an earlier talk, I went over each of these criteria with regards to school shootings. which showed that you needn't be doing what you are currently doing. Furthermore, I'd like to point out that there is no evidence that any of the measures that are commonly used to harden schools against attack actually work. Here's an example from the recent Appalachia, Georgia high school shooting on September 4th. Every teacher at that school carries a rapid SOS panic alarm with them. Are you thinking about getting panic alarms for the school? Was it effective there? From the K through 12 school shooting database, the first shots were fired at 10:20 a.m. Authorities get the first 911 calls of an active shooter on campus at 10:20, meaning immediately. 911 calls come from. Everybody has a cell phone. Alert for the shooting comes in from the rapid SOS device at 10:22 a.m. based on dispatch reports released by Barrow County, Georgia. Why pay $8,000 for a panic alarm system to alert the police when 911 was 2 minutes faster and free? Remember, this is a massive multi-billion-dollar business on school safety, with no evidence any of these things are necessary or work. This is just one example. If you ask someone what kind of facility is hardened against internal and external attack and has video cameras, automatic locks, lockdowns, panic alarms, metal detectors, and armed security guards, they always answer prisons. They should also add schools. Our schools do not have violent inmates like prisons. They just have children, and that is how you should see them. Unfortunately, people are seeing them as these violent inmates that can at any moment turn on students and staff and kill people. It's just irrational. Since schools are not run like prisons, it should not be surprising that methods that might work in prisons might not work in schools. If I had more time, I can go into all the different ways that students get around metal detectors. Don't consider metal detectors. It's just a waste of time. The students get around them. In fact, all the security measures you have, students will get around because they know the security measures. You tell your students to hide in the closet, well, in Uvalde or wherever it was, I forgot where it was, the shooter knew that the students were going to hide in the closets, so he shot into the closets and killed them. Every security measure you have will be defeated. The automatic locks, he knows how to pull off the magnetic stripes and lock himself in that no one could get in, and so on. So these things never work. How about security guards? If you have only 1 or 2 officers for 800 students, dozens of rooms and multiple hallways, by the time an officer arrives at the shooting will probably be over. You kind of think the police come and end the shooting. These mass shootings end when the shooter stops shooting. That's almost all of them, not everyone, but almost all of them. They just simply stop. Even in Uvalde, when the student was locked in the classroom, the shooter was locked in the classroom with those students for an hour, he didn't kill them all. He stopped shooting. Finally, the police came in, he shot at the police, they shot back at him, and they killed him. Even if the shooting is not over, what can one officer do? Do you expect him to run into a hail of bullets to kill the shooter? By comparison, a prison might have 100 correction officers for 800 inmates. That's why that works. They have 100 times as many security personnel that you'll have. Only the local police will have the tactical gear and numbers necessary to neutralize a shooter if that becomes necessary. There are other models for school security that focus not on hardening the schools like prisons, but focus instead on helping troubled students. Whether a teen dies by homicide or suicide is irrelevant. Either way, the child is dead. It has been said that suicide is a permanent solution for a temporary problem, and this is especially true for teenagers just starting out in life. Over the last 20 years, about 400 teenagers in New Jersey, aged 15 to 18, have died by suicide. None have died in a school shooting. By the way, in one of the pie charts I gave you, it showed that shootings that occur within the school, most of them occur outside the school, but if those that occur in the school, 17% of suicides. Children take guns to their head in front of the classroom and blow their brains out. Or they go into the cafeteria and do it. 17% of those in school. No one else dies, just that suicide. Given this statistic, why would any rational administrator that has money to spend so much on security guards to prevent school shooting deaths that have never happened at all in all of New Jersey, rather than spend money on mental health to improve the lives of troubled students and perhaps even save a student's life? The Talmud, a Jewish text that expresses the belief in the sanctity of life, says, "He who saves one life saves the world." What you are currently doing just squanders money. You're not saving any lives. Another added benefit of spending money on mental health is that school shooters that engage in the most feared type of school shooting, the rampage shooting, have mental health problems or other serious problems at school or home. They are often depressed and suicidal. If appropriate services had been available to them, that would stop more shootings than any armed guards or other hardening methods. Well, What should you do with your armed guards and security officers? I mean, you have them. This is what I think you should do regarding your armed officers. Even though police are not needed in our schools and are a major expense, firing them is unrealistic. Eventually, they will retire. Just don't replace them. In the end, maybe just keep your director of security. If parents are concerned, just tell them that the schools on Montgomery Street are close enough together that one school security officer can get to any of the 3 schools quick enough if there is a shooting. Also, South River is so small that a South River police officer in a patrol car is usually just a few blocks away from any school, and if needed, could be at school at no time. I walk all the time through the town to lunch, and I see patrol cars everywhere. I don't know how many there are, but I almost always see one. And this town is very small. In a minute or two, they're there, 2 minutes. It really does not matter whether this is true, whether they could get there quick enough or not. It really doesn't matter. If there was a shooting, it would not matter if an armed officer was in the building or not. As I showed previously, the data shows that schools that have security guards have as many shootings as schools that do not. And if a shooting occurs, there are 2.8 times as many casualties when a security guard is present. So it is a toss-up between armed officers just do not matter or they are in actual danger. I also showed the misuse of firearms by officers in the schools, security officers. Mostly they left them around, they were found by students, some went off, a guy got shot in the eye. Put 100,000 guns in the school, what can possibly go wrong? If parents are still concerned, have a patrol car with a town police officer park on Montgomery Street when the children are entering the school building in the morning and leaving during dismissal. This will not cost anything, and the parents will see the police and hopefully feel safe. Explain to any concerned parent that it is better than having an officer in the school building because most shootings take place outside the building in the morning when students walk in or leave during dismissal. And that is true. That's when most of the shootings occur. If you remove all security guards, as I recommend, and it's not saying fire them, just eventually they'll retire. These are not young men. Just don't replace them. Just keep contracting the force. If you remove all security guards, as I recommend, the town will save a few $100,000 a year. Each taxpayer about $50 a year, or an extra $150 per year to spend on students, or extra money to spend on mental health. By the way, I'm not advocating that you spend more money on mental health. I don't know what your mental health program is. It may be completely adequate, and that spending more money on mental health may just have diminishing returns. But spending it on armed security guards doesn't buy anything. Well, this is the end of my talk. It's spread out almost over a year and a half. I originally hoped to give it in 20-minute segments at maybe 3 or 4 talks rather than this long. But it's the end of it. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Have a good day, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak and address the board on first call, on second call, and on third call? This public session is closed. The board is going to go into executive session. So be it resolved that pursuant to Sections 7 and 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, the following subjects be discussed at a session of the Board of Education closed to the public, and those items are attorney-client privilege. It is presently anticipated that the items to be discussed in closed session can be disclosed to the public when resolved. Is there a motion?
Nielsen.
Motion by Vice President Nielsen,
Crouch.
second by Mrs. Bush. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Right, kiddo, you can go. Have a nice, happy